Okay, Aunt Jane and Aunt Zephyrine, we just wanted you guys to talk about your life growing up in Morrilton, Arkansas. Anything that you want to discuss with us about growing up? One aspect was about Grandpa's first uh, house, or when he first acquired his land, anything like that. We just want to get up the like history of uh, your experience growing up in Morrilton, Arkansas, and you guys can just one
I'll
talk and
speak
the
on
other.
the house that I grew up in.
Okay,
My sister can talk on the house that she grew up in, her
that'd be
first house. This
that'd
is
be
my first house, related to me by my oldest brother, Anderson Rall. When Papa first, we call my dad Papa, when he moved into the land down in Frog Levee, this house was old, dilapidated, but he was able to purchase a house and 60 acres of land, 80 acres of land. But the house had holes in the roof and in the sides and in the floor. It was just a shell of a house. But he moved his family into that house. And when it rained, the water would come down through the roof. And in the wintertime, the wind would come through. It was an awful house. But he was a carpenter by accident. He hadn't been trained. And he would repair it as much as he could. Every time he got a chance to buy lumber, a tin, or paper, or anything, he would plug up the hole and stop the rain or stop the wind from coming in. And as they were telling me about it, it was an awful time because even the water inside, if you had water inside, it would freeze. They had one stove for heating and one stove for cooking, but it didn't keep the house warm. So my mom made blankets, quilts out of old pants, breeches we used to call them. So that's what they would pile on top of the children in the bed to keep us warm. This went on for several years until eventually was able to completely repair the house and add a porch. And on this porch, as children were being born, they would have beds on the porch in the summertime. Now in the summertime it was okay, except for mosquitoes. Mosquitoes would come in through the holes in the walls, and that was a problem. They had to spray a lot. Now that was the house that he moved into when I was born, but I do not recall. I'm speaking from my oldest brother's recollection. But my sister moved in another house it calls Owl's Den, right? And that's the house that she can talk about.
No. We used to live in Alden. And we moved from Alden to Frog Levee. So this is the house that she's talking about. I don't my grandfather and grandmother lived in Alden, Alden. And when we moved down there to Frog Levee, which is beginning of the war, I think. And there was JF, which is the one they call Uncle Aaron, but we call him JF. And I were the two youngest kids at the time. In Alden, there was Anderson, Grace, and Ellis. So when we moved down there, and Papa went to Kansas City to work during the war. This is like in 1940, 42, in that area. And left the three oldest with Aunt Wilmer. And Aunt Wilmer was being bossy, I would say, especially when it came to Ellis. All right, the war ended. June, Aaron was born in Kansas City. And we moved down there. After war, we came back to Arkansas. Came back when I was about 5 years old because I was too. At that time, the children couldn't start the school because until they was 6, and my birthday was in January, so that left me out. You would say about a year.
A year.
And so, fast forward, we came back to Arkansas, to the house that Anderson told Jane about. It was, should I put this in there? About
Now,
that?
what about the house before then?
That's the only house I remember.
Oh, okay.
Because when we moved down there, it was out in the country, and the house was infected with bed bugs, and we called them chinches.
Changes.
Chinches.
Okay.
But then the house, they had about 3 feet wide wallpaper, thick wallpaper
Mhm.
over the walls. One wall separated the outside from the inside, same wall.
Mhm.
So it had to be very cold in there. And so when we moved back, when we came back from Kansas City, all of the kids, the boys slept in one bed, alone, crosswise.
Mhm.
And I don't know where the girls slept, wherever they were. Most of them had pallets on the floor.
Okay.
And it was cold in there. We had a tin roof. They used, instead of the shingles, they used tin to cover the house.
Okay.
And the floor, you could look down and see the ground.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, we used those holes to urinate in the night.
Oh my.
Wow.
Okay.
And later on we got what they call the slop buckets to urinate in.
Oh.
You want to interview me, right?
Yes. No. Keep going. We wanna know.
That's some information I didn't know. That's how history get lost. You don't tell it.
Yeah.
And not only that, the bed bugs were so bad until even the chickens had bed bugs.
Wow.
Oh my
Jesus.
goodness.
Wow.
And
And would they bite?
what?
The bed bugs, would they bite? Now,
What?
in my experience, bed bugs just happen.
Bed bugs would bite. That's why
years
they
ago.
call bed bugs, because they would bite. We would see the blood on the bed at the next day, and you could smell them, and you knew, and they would wake you up, and you knew they were nearby. So during that period, I was one of the ones who was trying to get rid of the bed bugs. They made mattresses. They didn't have what do you call them? Bed rests. What are the name brands now?
Spring mattresses, springs.
Right, but they made it out of cotton. They had chicken. They made them in the country. Most of the black people got. And so it was stitched together. It's about that thick. And anyway, the bed bugs were getting those little crevices.
Mm.
And there was a thing they called coal oil, which people burned in lamps.
Mhm.
You've heard of that.
Coal oil, yes.
Right.
Yes. I've heard of that.
I think they used the same thing for the airplanes at one time, because when I first rode an airplane, I said, that smells like coal oil.
Oh.
So that's diesel oil.
Well, but they upgraded since then.
Uh-huh.
And so anyway, it was my job to spray the mattresses every day so we would sleep at night. And when we didn't spray, we'd get a container, fill it with coal, and put it on there's a four-leg bed, and set the legs down in there so that if the bed bugs crawl, they get in there before they get into the bed.
Oh.
Okay.
What spray did you use? You said you sprayed.
We take the coal out and spray them.
Oh, I see.
Take
I
the
see.
spray, and if it didn't spray, open the top just enough so the dribble would go down into the crevices of the tip.
Oh, I see.
So that's how we tried to get rid of the bed bugs. We eventually got rid of all that, I think they call it tar paper. It was wider than this table, and it had it all across there. So we finally got rid of that and put sheetrock or something up instead. But it's still, we got into the chickens. And let's see.
I thought if bed bugs were eradicated until about 5 years ago, or maybe longer, because
Well, they probably were, but I'm telling you how I deal, or we deal with it during that period.
okay,
What was being farmed on the farm, and who was doing the work?
Farm, we grew corn.
vegetables, all
we
kinds
had
of
a
vegetables.
garden. We had a garden. So called the garden. It was different from the farm. And we had tomatoes, okra, corn, squash, anything that's
Watermelons,
Papa
plenty of watermelons.
didn't do watermelons too good when I was coming up. He did that later on. And then too he had a fishing clients down in Northern in the town. He would go out in a boat and catch fish and take them into the town instead of
Now, the way he caught the fish, he made nets, fish nets,
and he
and they were
and he
designed where the fish would go in but couldn't go out. So he would have more than just fish. He would have turtles. So we learned to eat that kind of meat. All kind of fish, but the larger fish you would take to town and sell.
and he would take the fish to town, and that's where he generated some money, income. And then there were the Caucasians down there. They figured out a way to stop him from doing this. And Uncle Will English, which is
Mama's side.
Mama's brother, oldest brother, he did the same thing. And he had what you call a T-model Ford with the running boards on the side. And he would put his fish into there and take it out town and sell. But those two were selling fish to the Caucasian. And they got the idea, I think, to stop them from selling fish or making a living. And they started building ponds around on the different places where people would have their own, and they would stock it with fish. And people would have their own fish. So that kind of dwindled out later on in life. In the meantime, Uncle Will, which is Papa's brother, Mama's brother, had passed away. So then came the watermelons. This is years after I left there. And he would do a lot of watermelons and sell, I don't know what other crops that he would sell.
We also had milk cows
Yes, we did that
that
too.
we would milk, and he would sell that milk. We had big containers of,
About 3 feet tall,
Yeah,
2
they-
feet tall, right. And the way
And
to
he
keep-
was able to sell that for a while until they decided that they didn't want him to sell it anymore. Then they started saying that it was
Salmonella, but then at
it
the time
was
was
sometimes it would be sour, sometimes it would have trash in it. They just made up all kinds of excuses. Nevertheless, now they never gave him his milk back. They just said that we couldn't pay you because something was wrong with the milk.
Same song, different verse.
So eventually he just stopped this trying to sell it all.
So he
And
was
then
selling-
he got a job downtown working at the, now I'm not sure what kind of mill, but it was a mill,
Sawmill.
sawmill, working at the sawmill. And that's when we got a little income. Back up, in the summer, before all this happened, I know Rainy May was 5, so I must have been about 12. We went to Missouri to pick cotton. Did you ever do that?
I never went to Missouri.
We went to Missouri to pick cotton.
Just as Anderson was saying it at the family reunion in Conway, Pumperville, wherever it was, and one of the Webb boys was preaching, and he's asking everybody to raise that cotton picking hand. And so I whispered over to Anderson. I said, I didn't go to Missouri to pick cotton. He said, I
We went
didn't
to
either."
Missouri to pick cotton.
I didn't.
Huh.
No,
And we
I
would
didn't.
stay the whole summer.
Right.
And I don't know how this happened, but my mom would go, and everybody that had gone, cousins and everybody, it was just a lot of us. She would do all the cooking. So she didn't do any cotton picking. She did the cooking inside. And so in my little mind, I thought if I picked enough cotton, I could raise enough money to get us out of poverty. Now this is the part you're not gonna believe. I picked 538 pounds of cotton every day. Me, every day.
Yeah.
Back up. This, and I shouldn't say this. I was doing so well. My mom and my dad they were encouraging me to pick more, pick more. All over 350 is yours. So I got 340, then 345. Then they raised it to all over 345 is yours. Kept raising mine, but then raised Applebee's and Carlee's. So when they got to 500, my mom raised it again. All over 500 pounds, you can have.
And
So
the poundage.
and I was I guess type A. I was gonna get us out of poverty. I was gonna get us out of poverty. I was gonna work. I wouldn't take a break. I just work. Long story short, I ended up with some money that my mom wanted to borrow and never got back. That's another story. But they were able to buy a car from that money that my brother and I, my sister, and we picked that summer. And we would go every summer, but that was the first car, and he paid cash for it.
Oh my.
And it
This
was
is
a
in
used
Missouri.
car.
It was a used car, but and I don't know, it was you or Grace ran into the house trying to drive,
Oh,
I wasn't there during the
and
car
then he
visit.
made a rule: girls can't drive the car. The boys could drive, but the girls couldn't drive.
No, I didn't. I wasn't there. when
Somebody
the car-
ran into the house.
Right. No, I didn't. I wasn't there when he got the car.
You weren't there when I was picking all that cotton either.
No, no. I wouldn't. I was.
Now, you
I
know
just-
what? 538 pounds, that's a lot of cotton. I didn't even take a break.
my goodness.
So
And
when you see that
where
I'm small, I have worked myself to death. That's why I'm small even to this day.
So you picked cotton in Missouri, and you
Did not.
I didn't go
not.
to Missouri to
Did you
pick cotton.
In the
did you-
bottoms.
I went down in the black bottoms to pick
Mhm.
cotton for the man.
Ah.
But I still didn't work myself to death. Even when we chopped cotton also.
$3 a day.
Mm.
And
All day.
And so Jeff and I would play around. And so I figured, if I lay out here in this hot sun, I just sit down, go home, and lie down, which I did.
I had just the opposite. I was gonna make us get out of poverty.
No,
I didn't like
we
living
wasn't
like
moving
that.
out of poverty. This is after the war. After the war. And so Jeff was out, and then I'm laying up there. We had a trunk, and we had quilts that was made, and we called this a prep box. We didn't have chest of drawers, things like that to put
Yeah.
things in. And I was laying up there on that when he came. He came in talking about you laying up, you sick, and pouring water down my ear.
But you weren't sick.
No, I got sick from being out there in that hot sun. And so so that's why I wear. I knew if you wear clothing, loose clothing, and when the sun, just like Admiral out of Van and Mary Van, when the wind blow, you feel that coolness. But if you're out there with nothing on, and the sun's already burning your body, you're not gonna feel it. And we didn't need suntans. Yeah.
Didn't know anything about that.
Right. No, I never did go to Missouri because she knew I wasn't going to do anything.
Well, you weren't there. You weren't at home. We grew up, it was 11 of us. I don't remember
No,
Gladys.
the 11th wasn't. in the
Gladys was
equation.
before I was born.
She was.
But we
before
kind
I
of
was
grew up
born,
in
too.
we kind of grew up in pairs, and no more than 3 or 4 at the house at the same time.
Right.
So I don't recall you living there. I recall you coming back to visit, but I don't recall you living in the house.
Right. Yeah, I left.
So I was born in '38, and you left going to.
After I finished high school, it was like 1940, 42.
So
I have a picture just like that picture that they were showing with Papa walking down the street,
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
God, somebody ain't for us.
What is it, sir?
No, this
This
is
is
not.
Yeah,
It's not
it might be
us.
Brian's.
What is it?
Speaker.
Speaker.
Okay. I was about to say something.
No, just like Papa walking down Minnesota Avenue.
Yeah.
Now that was like in 1940, just before the war or the beginning of the war. And when he came home, he showed us that picture. That's why I have it. And then when I went to Kansas City, Grace was in Kansas, and Wilmore.
So it was Anderson, Ellis, and you and Grace grew up together.
So to speak, yeah. Because when
And JF.
yeah, because when Anderson came back, see, Anderson left home, and I think he got into CC camp. J.F. Charles and Corley didn't know who he was, just like I saw Clayton one time. I said, "Who is that?" They said, "Oh, that's Clayton." And they saw
Now,
Anderson.
while we on that subject, hold that. Clayton came to visit one summer because Grace would come on the summer, and he was talking before he was 1. Talking about you.
Yeah,
Was
I have a
talking before he
picture.
was 1. So we were out now we could get in the car, we just couldn't drive it. We were in the car playing, and something came up, and you said before you were 1 year old. You said, "Aunt Jane, I'll be 1 year old the 1st of June." I never shall forget it. And I'm thinking, this little boy talking? So is your birthday the 1st of June?
Yeah.
I'll be 1 year old the 1st of June. And I'm thinking, that's not right. So I was telling your mom about it. So there was an article in the paper talking about,
A clipping of that too. Grace sent it to me, and I had.
you didn't know that?
And I was gonna send it.
Not
I'm
till
gonna
you
send it
told
to
me.
you. I was gonna send. I have it there because I'm going through a lot of stuff and I'm finding a lot of things. And I'm gonna send it to you. Because he came up. I don't know how old he was, and there was grass around the house. And I don't know. Papa asked Clayton, "What are you doing?" I'm trying to find eggs.
Trying to find what?
Eggs from the chicken.
You a busy little boy.
I'm trying to find eggs.
I didn't know you guys lived in Kansas City for that time.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I
Yeah,
didn't know
Rainy
about
Mae.
that.
Rainy Mae was born in Arkansas,
Right.
and after.
It was a rainy May. It was May and it was raining.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wouldn't know what was going on. They sent us to the myrrh tree to pick myrrh to make a pie. Never made a pie from those berries before. For some reason, we kept saying, why they want some? And so we would come home because we couldn't find any. Go back out, find some more. Climb higher, find some more. So when we came home, Renee had been born. Now, the Mary tree just crossed the road, mind you.
Rainy Mae was born in Arkansas.
You're right.
In May.
May.
In
May
whatever year she was born.
46.
And
46.
and see, Grace left her there and went back to Kansas
for
City.
5 years.
And so then, well, she had left your father. So then she decided she'd go back. And that's when Randy went back. And that's when I went up there too. Yeah,
That was before your time.
Oh, yeah.
right.
Now, Renee picked cotton too.
She did.
And, but when she would pick
much
it,
did she
when
pick?
she had a little crocus sack.
Oh,
When she picked it, she would take all the little specks out of it. It was just
The
white.
burrs.
It was just white, just completely
The
white.
seeds.
So instead of weighing her cotton like they weighed ours, they gave her extra because hers was just
Already
perfect. Mm-hmm.
whatever they do with the
Granny
gin.
picked cotton too.
oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And but see, she wasn't born when I did the cola stuff. She doesn't remember that.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And but everybody else would remember up above me. June would probably remember too. As I said, June was born in Kansas City. And because Anime, you've heard of Anime, I'm quite sure.
Yes, I have.
He's a city boy. He was
Right.
born in the city.
They're city boy.
And he tried to act that way. Now that explains how you remember Junior. That's why he acted, because he wasn't from the country. He was born in the city.
And he was born in Kansas City, too.
Yeah, he was born in Kansas
But they
City.
stay there long.
And so he acted like he was different from us.
Oh.
And he'll tell you, I wasn't born in this country. I was born in Kansas City.
Let's see, what else do I need to tell you?
Y'all ask some questions. We running out of thoughts.
Hey, you find out things yourself so you don't know what to ask, right?
You went to school in Menifee?
Yeah, I
We
went
all
there in high
did.
school.
Was it high
We
school?
did grade, 10th grade or 9th grade out there in the country. And then for the last high school grades, we went to Menifee.
Went to 8th grade at Hickory Hill. And then I
Uh,
went to 9th grade at Menifee.
I guess that's the way it was now.
Mhm.
But I know we finished down there. And Alma Sophonius, Daddy, Aunt Liddy, Clarence's wife,
English, Joe Will English.
was the
English teacher.
English teacher.
Mhm.
And her father, named Mr. Talley, he was a little short man. I don't know where he came from. I'm farther down south. And he had some houses. And he would rent the houses to the kids that came from the country, so to speak, down to the little city town in Menifee. And so we would stay in his houses. I don't know what the ratio of the rent was, but we stayed there and went to school there. So when I finished 47 was when I finished high school. Reason why I know that, we got rings, class rings, and bracelets. And so I ran across my ring one day not so long ago. So that's how I knew it was 47.
Class rings, that is amazing.
Now, by the time I got to 9th grade and went to Menifee, we had a bus that took us. We stayed home, so we didn't
Oh,
have
you
to.
did?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but you know where I live in the Frog Live, and you know where the highway is. We had to walk to that highway to catch the bus.
Oh,
I don't get-
I remember.
Yes, yes.
I remember somebody going over there where Adame's house to catch the bus. Was that later on?
That was later on. We walked through that highway to catch the bus.
No. Yeah, because the bus would come over there and stop at Adam's house, and we would be at our
When
house.
Charles came along, it came down through the loop. And he could get on the bus in front of the house.
No, nothing like that, never happened.
So as we grew and left, it got better. They not paved, but they put gravel.
They graded it.
The roads
Yeah.
were so
Yeah.
roads were so bad until the ruts, the middle of the car be down in the ruts, but they just go anyway, and you try to get on top, and it push you right back in.
What happened when it rained real hard? Just
We
made
went
it
anyway. We went
worse.
anyway.
Okay.
Now we were lucky because we had some cousins. We started the school after Labor Day. We had some cousins that didn't go to school until after everything was picked. Everything was in. The Mitchums.
Okay.
But they lived in another community, which was up near,
But they went to the same school.
yeah.
So in my class, I had cousins and people that were like 20, 21, still in school because they didn't go to school long enough. It's a place further up called what's that place? Cleveland. It's a place up further called Cleveland
Right, which is kind of like on the mountain.
on the mountain. And I remember this girl played basketball. I was a basketball player, and she was 22 years old. And she would throw that ball and knock me down. And I said, well, she's not going to knock me down again. I got strong. When I saw the ball coming, I braced myself. So if you didn't go to school so many days, you didn't get passed. As they say, you didn't get
They
passed.
will hold you back.
They hold you back.
Right.
Mhm.
That doesn't happen anymore now. Ugh.
No.
So it sounds like you grew up in sin. Were there occasions where you all came together?
I said we grew up in twos, but actually grew up in fours. Because I think Anderson, Ellis,
School for those color folks, we call colorful sin.
Mhm.
And it was 4 rooms. And Mama cooked at that school too.
mhm.
Yeah, she cooked at that school. And my teacher was Abrams, Lucy Abrams, but she was a steward at first. And she married a man named Abrams.
They were my teachers too.
Huh?
They stayed there. They were my teachers
Oh,
too.
really?
Mhm.
But she married a man that from, I think it's from Little Rock or Pine Bluff somewhere. Yeah.
I tell you, we're resilient people. I tell you.
You talking about determined?
Resilient and determined
Mm-hmm.
and strong.
Had to be.
Had to be to survive.
I remember when I took my first bus trip out of Arkansas. I was going to work in Carruthersville, Missouri. I was teaching there. And I would pass when I went to Haytime, Missouri, and those places, and I didn't tell anybody. I look out, I said, damn, those them cotton fields that I picked. And I looked at that, and I said, you know what, God, you're so good. That used to be me. I've been in them cotton fields, picking cotton. And I'm on this bus going to school to make some decent money and teach children. And I'm looking at them, and I say, and I didn't tell anybody. For a long time, I didn't tell anybody my story because I was embarrassed. And then it hit me. I'm who I am. I have come a long ways. I got a story to tell. Like I was telling my grandson the other day. He didn't like working. He wanted to work, but he didn't want to be on time. I said, I worked 44 years. Now you asking me for money? You need to get to that job. Now you just getting started. So don't come ask me for money when you can get up and go to work. 44 years.
Yes.
I told myself, I ain't gonna be poor all my life. I'm gonna have some, now I said, I'm gonna have me some money. That's the way I say it. You gonna have you some money when you grow up. And so I worked towards that end.
Yeah.
But can you imagine me looking out that window at those people picking cotton? That used to be me.
This is Haytime, Missouri.
Haytime and
Yeah,
Carruthersville. I was working for
that
Carruthersville.
was the,
I didn't tell anybody up there that I used to be up there picking cotton. Didn't tell them.
that was the place to go. I don't know, it's not too far across the Arkansas-Missouri
Right, Haytime.
border. And so that's where they started, Hate Die, Coretta, Missouri. Right. No,
Question, the interview ever pick cotton? You
No.
you
You
see
don't know what
that?
that is, do
He
you?
used to pick cotton.
Ooh.
and not only that,
On my shoulders.
and not only that, picking cotton, picking cotton is what it says, picking with your fingers. And those burrs would stick,
Yes, it'd be
would stick
all-
your fingers. And when I was trying to remedy that, I put old socks on my hands.
Did that work?
Yes, it stopped
It
that.
slowed her down. I didn't do that.
So did
Well, I
you
don't mind
get
that.
callous when you all
No,
that
this little
picking?
part right here would be
Yeah,
pricked
just
up, pricked
your
up.
cuticles would be.
And I'll just pull that off and keep going.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I would put old socks, probably my brother's socks, they got grown. And not only that, I'm on my brother's shoes to school.
What you say?
And then I had my shoes, which was the black and white Satellox at that time, with the little holes around there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Saddle oxfords, yeah, we wore those.
Right.
too.
I kept
So
them.
did
I kept them. I would carry them and wear their old shoes to school and change when I got there.
That was smart. That was
Yeah, we
smart.
would do that because you walked out to the highway, you'd be muddy and wet.
Muddy.
Mhm.
And so you had another pair of shoes, which when they didn't look any better, they're just dry. You put those on. You put those.
And not only that, we didn't have backpacks.
Oh, I
they have
can
now.
imagine that, yeah.
And I don't know about the books. I don't really remember how those were. Probably everybody used the same book because when we got them on the inside cover, it tells you who has had them. So I'm Caucasian, I know.
Yeah. What did you do for lunch? I mean, you know,
We would
at
take our
you
lunch.
take whatever.
A
Biscuits.
bucket of tea cakes.
Tea cakes. Oh, okay.
Biscuits, butter biscuits.
And when we had ham, we have ham and biscuits. And the Ganos,
I didn't have all
Zimri Ganos children, they didn't work. They had, in other words, they made it. We thought they were made it. They made it. They would have peanut butter and jelly, peanut butter and crackers. I would trade my ham sandwich, my ham biscuit, for some peanut butter and now you know who won that? They were getting over on me. My ham biscuit was more expensive than their peanut butter and crackers. But every day, you got some ham? Yeah.
And not only that, we didn't know what, in the Rall family, we didn't know what, the kids didn't know what peanut butter was.
Yes, we did. We got
Well, I didn't.
We got a big can of it
That's when you
Later.
you came on. But that
and
didn't.
got cheese.
And it wasn't like Peter Pan peanut butter.
Good.
It was the kind of peanut butter that would stick to the roof of the mouth and you couldn't get it out.
It was commodity peanut butter.
Oh,
Now we didn't get it from the government because they said we had too much land. But my dad would bargain with somebody and get it.
you wouldn't get it because you had too
We
much
had
land.
and in fact we were too rich. We had too much land.
That's the Caucasian, just like we went on that Truder Day.
Yes.
I'm sitting back there listening, seeing all that stuff down there in that Ninth Ward and everything, and I remembering all that stuff.
We never got it
Right.
Right.
because we had too much land. In other words, we were too rich.
That was the white folks trying to keep us down. And they did. What else do you want to know?
Well, you got any more questions? We're just letting you guys talk, and we're just learning stuff. You know, we just
Talk
cannot
about your
imagine.
talk about your church life.
Church life, we opened the church and we closed it. My dad was the superintendent. My mom was a teacher. And they would lead the songs. The children sat in one section, the grown folks sat in another section, and we sat there all day.
And not only that.
And if somebody wanted to do something that they weren't supposed to do, they give you that eye and you sat up there.
and not only that,
We cleaned the
every fifth
church.
Sunday, was it every fifth Sunday? I don't know if you remember.
Every fifth Sunday, all the churches came together.
Which was, they called it a singing convention.
Right.
And
The
Papa-
Baptist, the Methodist,
right.
Presbyterian.
And you try to just like a contest, and you try to out-sing each other.
Mhm.
And Papa was the, and you were getting all this stuff.
Leader.
And you were getting all these do-ram-bees for our solos. They were mixed up. just like Julie Andrews was telling the kids how to sing and
Oh, right.
do, re, mi, fa. And see, those were do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do were shape notes in the music book. I don't think they have music books now with shape notes. They all are.
What's a shape notes, Rhonda?
See, she didn't know that.
Shape.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't know that. You have to
She did music all the way prior to
Old
tour.
note have.
I don't know. I never heard that before.
Yeah. If you get an old book, you will see there's some kind of shaped like a square, or little dots like code like
Ah,
sounds.
mhm.
And then they Papa would have a what you call a tuner to keep every alto, bass, soprano, tenor on cue. He would blow into it and give each one their cue. Anyway, we would out sing everybody down there. And as I said, Papa used to be the superintendent of the school, the class leader. And when the mules and horses got loose on a Sunday, he had to go find them. But we had to go to church anyway. So I did the leading of the Sunday school.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Just like when they do the decalogues, yeah. I knew all of that. They do it now in church. I do all that. And so they abbreviate it now a lot of times. And
I don't remember you being in church.
Well, see, you're about 10 years younger than I am.
So you were gone.
Yes, but I would take over the superintendent, his duties until he came. Yeah.
Sam, you said when you were gone, okay, that's what I'm trying to understand. You were living somewhere else, or were you lived in another?
I lived in Cincinnati for off and on for a while, which was another community.
All right, I see.
And then, but during that period, I would go home, and actually, Aunt Zanetta was going to give me to her, and Aunt Florence and some other people talked her out of
Give her to what, adopt you?
and so to speak, they was going to give me. There won't be an adoption per se. And so Aunt Florence and the others kind of talked her out of it. So then I would go back down. And matter of fact, when I left home and went to Kansas City to work, and on my 2 weeks vacation, I'd go down there, and you and Apolly and Charles and Carly and who else? June, Jeff wasn't there, I don't think. Jeff probably gone to Cincinnati. The house would be so filthy, the walls, the baseboards. And I spent my whole 2 weeks cleaning the house. And the piano was too. The notes are just where you put your greasy hands and everything else on. And I worked the whole 2 weeks. And so then the last time I was down there, I said, if you guys can stay in this house all this time, I can stay here 2 weeks. And I never went back down there to clean anymore.
Good.
Yeah.
So no one asked you to do it in the first place.
I know, but I figured if I was going to go down there, I was going to try to pull my weight.
Well, I did the very same thing.
Right.
I would take Rodney up there before Rodney was born. I take my playpen, and I set this playpen up and put him in there. And then I clean the house. He couldn't get out of that playpen until I got the house clean. And Papa said, ain't gonna do no good. Ain't gonna do no good. In a couple of months, it's gonna be back that way.
Right.
So, but I did the same thing you did. I wouldn't let my children play until I got the house clean. But my mom, in defense of her, 11 children, and did all the cooking. Because Athlete did some cooking, and in her defense, she was just tired, and she would say, "I'm tired." I said, Mama, go somewhere and sit down. It's not that kind of tired. It's not that kind of tired. I'm just tired.
Actually,
So my mom did the best she could. And you know when I realized that? When I had children of my own. When I became a mother, I understood how she felt about certain things. Now, I'm going to put that out there, but I shouldn't say it. My dad married my mom, and his family did not like that. They said he was marrying down. So, she just had a lot of stuff going on in her life, you know, just young, bunch of children running around. So she did the best she could. And when I hear my sister say how dirty the house was, and she tells me this every time I see her, I say, yeah, but look at me now. Look at me now. Got a house, everything. So you don't stay in the rut. You do the best you can. That was the best she could.
well, as
And
I
so I
said,
understood that.
right, it was the best she did, but she contributed to all that, some of the dirt. Cause her,
Of
if
course,
if
and we did too.
And she would come out of from cooking or something, her hands are greasy or whatever, and then put the hands on the wall and on the door. Most of the door
Didn't- If she thought that was wrong, she would not have done it. That's the way I looked at it.
I don't know about that part of it. But
When
as-
you
but
know
I
better,
said-
you do better.
But as I said, you were in that part during that time when I went down there to on my 2 weeks vacation. Rode the bus, not the bus, the train. I don't think they may have had Greyhound service in there. I know they had a Missouri Pacific Railroad down through there. And I said, well, I come down here, and at that time, press your hair. and when you're working, you're sweating, and the hair get all out of place.
And you pressed it too, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
that's what it was back then, wash and press.
So we're talking about Kansas City, and I'm gonna be done because I need to go. My daughter's waiting on me. When I was playing basketball at Philander, we went to Kansas City to play a team. I only played for 1 year because I couldn't. That ball, it just knocked me down. I didn't weigh 100 pounds. But I went over to Grace's house. I don't know how I got there. I just remember being there. And in my mind, like I say, when you know better, you do better. Grace fixed some chicken and some gravy. I remember that, and some biscuits.
Okay.
Now, you're supposed to eat what's in front of you. You know what I told Grace? I don't like white gravy. I don't eat white gravy. I never had white gravy before. And looking back on that, I should have kept that to myself. I didn't have no filter. I just say what I thought. So I ate the chicken and the biscuit, but I didn't eat that white gravy. And to this day, I don't eat white gravy.
Oh my God.
And I'm sure that may not made her feel pretty good about that.
Oh my, what did she say?
But we
when
talked
you
about
said
it later.
Oh.
Yeah, I told her, I said, now, I should have kept that to myself. I didn't have a filter, still don't, as they say.
I don't either.
But, and I took a friend with me, and I remember you. Seemed like you stayed upstairs. I don't remember Clayton. I remember
stayed
you.
Upstairs?
Seemed like it was upstairs.
I don't remember upstairs at your house either.
You came downstairs, or you came from somewhere. Maybe you came in from school, I don't know. And you were stomping up that gravy. And I said, oh, it must be good, but I never did try. Did you have an upstairs?
There was an upstairs. I was living upstairs.
Okay, that's
We all were living upstairs. And
Okay.
then when I
now Clayton wasn't there. It was just you and Leslie.
Oh,
okay.
so I must
so
have
we were
gone off.
grown. Yeah.
I must have gone off to Exeter or somewhere.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I lived upstairs. I had the apartment upstairs. We all used to live upstairs. And
Yeah.
then we
Exeter
moved
and then to
downstairs.
college.
Yeah. Oh,
And I
okay.
came back,
Oh, my
yeah.
goodness. They have remarkable memories. It's things I don't
Yeah.
remember.
You don't remember me being there?
I do, but I remember you being there with Rhonda and
Rodney.
And Rodney.
Yeah.
They were little fellas.
Oh,
they
I
were
was,
little.
I was married then.
Yeah, I know. That's what I remember you being.
You don't
there.
remember being there in 62, 63, somewhere in that area?
I don't.
Well, you used to. Do you remember?
Oh, I was in grade school then.
Do you
though.
remember washing
still
your
there
walls,
then.
all your walls?
I said, they have remarkable
Yeah, I still
memories.
wipe my walls.
It's things that.
Oh,
I still do that. If I see a spot on my wall, I have my
No,
house
no,
painted.
you
If I
did
see
the
a
whole-
spot, I do it.
You did, I think, Pete had an allergy for something, and washing the walls
Wipe them down.
kept him,
Yeah.
keeping it there. Oh, so I just wondered if you remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That hadn't been that long ago. So when I was putting my hands on the wall, as you call it, making the walls
I ran
dirty,
out of storage on
I got away
this.
from
I'm
there.
recording on here,
when you know
so-
better, you do
I'm
better.
recording on this one, so. Well, thank you for this. We just wanted
Now
some-
you didn't
some
you didn't
information.
get what you wanted because you didn't ask any questions. We just told you what we want you to hear.
That's fine. No, we
We're
just
gonna do
two
this
questions.
again though.
We
We
just-
just,
We're
you
gonna
know,
do this on Zoom. We're gonna
We
record
talked
that.
out. We talked off the top of our head. If
That's
you'd asked us
fine.
some direct questions, that would
Yes.
jog our
Yeah,
memory
pre-planned
to say
questions.
something else about
Mhm.
how we grew up.
Well, we started off asking questions.
Because I
We just
thought